In the beginning of the story, we are shown a village which was very beautiful and peaceful, but in a short while the peace turns into noise. Some people gather outside a house who were very angry. Inside that house, a girl tells the lady of the house that Zhao has again caused harm to many people and people are very angry. The lady asks the girl to open the gate and let everyone in. The scene shifts to a forest where we see Zhao, who had set a trap to catch the most dangerous animal of the forest and is waiting for him to come in hiding. That animal comes there, which does not look like an animal but like a monster. That monster foils all the traps of Zhao and runs away from there, and Zhao also chases him on his horse. The scene once again shifts to his house where that lady gives freebies to all the people in return for their loss. But that girl explains to him that if she keeps telling things to everyone like this, then one day her house will become completely empty. Here, during the conversation, we come to know that the lady is after Zhao's death. She is the wife of the elder brother and is his Bobby. The story moves forward and we see Jiayu again, who is still chasing the monster, and despite shooting with his arrow gun, nothing happens to the monster. On the contrary, Jiayu makes the monster angry. After fighting with the monster for some time, Jiayu starts overpowering him. But before the monster can do anything, another man comes from behind and catches the monster and kills him. The man asks Jiayu if he is okay, but seeing the monster dead, Jiayu cries loudly and says that he was working hard for the last 8 months to catch this monster alive, but they came and ruined all his efforts. The man apologizes to Jiayu, but in return Jiayu says that he will have to pay some fine for killing this monster. Before the man gets angry at Jiayu, an old man of that man comes in front of Jiayu, apologizes to him and gives him some money in return, and the old man leaves Jiayu. He asks his name and also asks him if he knows a man named Emotayu. On hearing this name, Jiayu gets a little scared, but he does not let the expression come on his face and leaves from there after convincing them. After this, both the men leave for some other place to find Emotayu. After some time, Jiayu reaches his home, where the girl's condition worsens after seeing the monster. But Jiayu's sister-in-law first applies medicine on Jiayu's wounds after seeing his condition. Jiayu tells his sister-in-law that he had to catch that monster because he had to make some of his medicines from the monster's liver. Jiayu also tells them about those 2 men he had met who were asking him about Emotayu, i.e. Java's elder brother. Jaein, who is Jiayu's sister-in-law, tells that today only a letter has come for Jiayu from his brother. On hearing this, Jiayu becomes very happy and runs to his room and reads that letter. And the letter tells Jiayu that he is currently serving the king at Royal Plus and will be returning soon. He also advises Jiayu to focus on his studies and not indulge in worldly pleasures. After reading the letter, Jiayu feels quite relaxed and starts thinking about his brother while looking at the sky. Here suddenly a time skip occurs and we are shown a scene from the future. Here a girl is sleeping comfortably when her phone rings and a boy's voice comes from the other side that they have found some proof of the time of the Kim dynasty. Hearing this, the girl gets ready quickly and leaves for that place. After reaching here, we are shown the boy who had called her here and takes her to a place where we see many statues which belong to the Kim dynasty. Here the story comes back to the past in Jiayu's time, where he hears a lot of noise at night. He goes and checks. He finds out that some people from the royal capital had come to take Motu Ayu's wife, i.e. Jane, with them, and Jane will have to go alone with her. Jiayu first refuses to let Jane go alone, but Jane tells him that Jiayu will have to focus on her studies and Jane will go alone with those soldiers, otherwise their entire village may suffer due to the crime of not listening to the king. Jane quietly goes with those soldiers, but Jiayu does not know what to do. He was in a hurry, so he also started following them. While chasing the soldiers, Jiayu also attacks them, in which Eva is badly injured. The army commander agrees to take Jiayu with him to the royal palace for attacking the soldiers, and he takes both Jiayu and Jiayu towards the royal place. All this is being seen by the 2 men who talk to Jiayu in the jungle, but they do nothing in this matter. The next day, while going to the royal palace, Jiayu scolds Jiayu and says that there was no need for him to do all this. Jiayu should not get involved in this politics, but Jiayu explains to them that he cannot leave Jiayu and Jiayu alone, otherwise if anything happens to them then he will never be able to forgive himself. On the other hand, we are shown the scene of the royal palace where some people come to the king who tell him that they have found the omelet and now there is no worry about the king's death. Hearing this, the king's happiness knows no bounds and he says no to all those people out of happiness. He agrees to give the reward, but suddenly the king comes to know that all the people are lying and they are trying to kill him. The The king immediately orders his soldiers to give a very bad death to all those people, and in a very angry mood he starts going towards his room. After some time, Emotai also comes there and tells the king that he has really discovered the elixir. On hearing this, the king gets angry and gets very angry. But he also trusts Mute a lot, so to test his medicine, he called Mute's wife Signer to his palace. By now, Jane and Jehu had also reached the palace. After reaching there, Jane's eyes go towards Mute. On seeing him, Jehu runs towards his brother, but he sees that his brother is handcuffed. After seeing this, Jane and Jehu lose their senses. But then the king's arrival is announced. As soon as the king reaches there, Mute requests the king to send his brother and wife back from here, but the king tells Mute that if his medicine can really make someone immortal, then why is Mute so scared, and now this medicine of his will be experimented on his wife and she will be made a living statue. Then if he comes out alive from inside that statue after a year, then it will be assumed that Mute was telling the truth, but if all this is a lie, then his whole family and vinegar will be destroyed. The story once again comes to the future where the girl is exploring that place thoroughly, and at the same time that boy tells her that they have found another amazing thing. The girl goes to see that thing where she finds out that this thing is the armor of the strongest king of that king dynasty. That is a very old armor, and at the same time the armorer's helmet is the most precious thing in the world. The girl looks at this helmet carefully, but she feels as if that helmet is also looking at her. After some time the light goes off there and the girl comes to know that she is alone. Suddenly someone attacks her, and then the story comes back to the past. Now here, to save her husband and the life of her village, Jane agrees to give this test, but Jehu comes in between and makes Jane an unconscious and king at first. The king gets very angry with Jehu's action, but later he agrees and also threatens Jehu that if his brother's medicine does not work on him, Jehu's entire village will be destroyed. But Jehu had full faith in his brother that his medicine will surely work, and he is ready to become a statue, but exactly after a year he will come out alive. The scene comes back to the future, and we see that the man who attacked that girl is a treasure hunter who is an expert in stealing precious things like the armor and the helmet. He also switched off the lights of this place so that no one can find out and those people are here. After some time, Pager Huth keeps looking at the armorer and the helmet, and while talking to himself, tells the value of that helmet, that this helmet is worth the entire golden armor. No one knows the value of this helmet, but the girl punches the hunter and runs away with the helmet and hides in the dark. This angers the hunter and he starts breaking all the statues around. To find the girl, the hunter puts one of his men to work. The monkey finds the girl, but the girl throws the helmet away in the fear that the hunter might get hold of the helmet. Now the hunter's anger crosses all limits and he uses his magic to create a huge blast there, but the girl is not affected by the blast. The amazing thing here is that the statue starts breaking, inside which there was a human being. Seeing a human being, the hunter becomes very happy because it was like icing on the cake for him, because along with an ancient arm, he has also found a living human being. Jehu also comes out and looks around in confusion. His eyes go towards the girl whose face resembles Jayan to a great extent. Seeing that girl, he remembers his own past where before the statue was made, her brother gave her a locket, and also told that now the time will stop for him. He will feel that he has taken a long sleep, and when he wakes up then his brother will definitely come to meet him. In the present, now Hunter tries to attack Jean as soon as he sees Jean, but Jean stops him with his powers. Then on hearing the sound of fighting, some people come there. Seeing them coming, Hunter also takes the wisdom to run away from there. Jean calls that girl sister, and that girl also keeps looking at Jean. After this, the scene of the police station is shown where the inspector calls that girl Jean. Jean tells the whole story to the inspector, but it was difficult for the inspector to believe that Jean was a boy from old times. Jean explains a lot to the inspector, and without explaining anything, the inspector takes Jean and Jean to take a fine. After coming out of the station, Jean repeatedly calls Jean's sister, due to which Jean gets upset and leaves from there and thanks Jean for saving her life and goes from there. Jean is also surprised to see such an advanced place, so he follows Jean, and to get rid of him, Jang goes to a busy road and gets into a taxi. But Jang was also very stubborn and was still chasing Jang. He does not let go, and while chasing him, he causes a huge traffic jam and also causes an accident. Due to his actions, Jean has to come to the police station once again. However, an inspector explains to Jean with great love that she should take care of her brother because perhaps his mental condition is not good. Jean repeatedly explains to him that he is not her brother. The inspector files an FIR against Jean and Jean for causing accidents and breaking traffic rules. At the same time, a big lawyer comes who gets Jean bail. The lawyer tells that he has been hired by the Jane Company. To bail Jean, we see that Jean gets very angry on hearing the name of this company and leaves Jean there and runs away from there. The lawyer asks Jean to sit in a big car so that he can drop her to her home, but Jean refuses him and leaves for her home herself. Jane was still in the station, so the inspector puts him in the jail with the other prisoners and asks him to wait for his sister. Jane, he also agrees to his words, but the prisoners inside were very dangerous. One of them comes in front of Jeong and tries to scold him, but Jeong throws him upside down, after which he beats up all of them one by one and also apologizes to him. Jeong asks if he could have found his sister there, to which one of the men says that for that Jayan will have to get out of here first. On hearing this, Jayan stands up and punches the wall in front of him, which breaks the wall into pieces, and he runs away from there. On the other hand, we see John in her house, who is trying to forget Jayan, but she is worried about Jayan again and again. After a while, her worry increases so much that she gets a call from the police that Jeong has run away and some goons are involved in his escape. Actually, the police thought that Jeong is an innocent boy and these people have made him run away by threatening him. On the other hand, we see Jayan, who is searching for John in the whole town, but she does not find him anywhere. Now even Jean cannot wait, and she too comes down from her building to look for Jean. But as soon as she starts going out, she collides with Jean. Jean was in a very bad condition, but on seeing Jean, he calls him sister and he too faints. Jean too feels relaxed after seeing Jean safe and sound and takes him to her room. While sleeping, Jean has a dream in which he sees his sister Jean. She tells him that she will always take care of Jean no matter what time it is. Jean wakes up and sees herself in Jean's room. A modern-style apartment is a very strange thing for Jean. He was roaming from one room to another, and while searching for Jean, he accidentally goes into her bathroom where Jean was taking a bath and sees Jean. Seeing him suddenly, she screams loudly and runs away. Next day, while watching TV, the news reporter tells that the treasure hunter has been caught by a police inspector and the helmet has also been placed at its right place. After watching this news, Jean gets very upset. Then Jeong comes from behind, seeing which Jean gets very scared. Jean scolds Jeong that there is a changing room where boys are not allowed to come. Also, Jeong should stay away from Jeong during the shooting, otherwise someone might suspect him. After saying this, Jean leaves from there, but Jeong is standing there and remembers the incident of last night, when before getting arrested, that hunter had said that there are other people in the world who will definitely come to find Jeong and then someone will be able to save him. After thinking about this for a while, Jeong starts his work, but by mistake he goes into a changing room where a girl was changing her costume. That girl sees Jeong and screams loudly and slaps Jeong hard and sends him away. Jeong also quickly runs away from his life. Bacha leaves from there and thinks that why does this happen to him every time. On the other side, we see Jean, who was going to meet the director, but a girl is already present there. Seeing this, anyone can say that she is a big film star whom the director is talking to very politely. That girl comes towards Jean and Jean also addresses her by calling Tang Lin, but Tang ignores her and goes away. Now the director calls Jean to talk about something and tells her that a big movie producer has decided to sign Jean for his next movie. And if Jean does this movie, then it is possible that she will become a big film star overnight. Jean dreams big, but for a moment this thought also comes in her mind that how did she get this movie suddenly? The director brings Jean to his office where a man was already waiting for him. On the other side, we see Jeong, who is telling one of his partners that how a girl slapped him after hearing which the boy he says that the girl's name is Tang Jody, who is also a Jane actor who wants to make her mark in the world of movies, and Wang Ling has a body double but Wang Ling does not respect him. Seong feels very bad for Chody after hearing this, and he decides that next time he will definitely apologize to Jody. After some time, Jean comes to a room where a lot of weapons were kept which are used in shooting. Jean is very impressed by seeing those weapons. Seeing Jin's curiosity, the boy shows him 1 or 2 weapons, although the weapons were fake, but still Jean likes their look and style. The scene is shot in front of Jean, due to which the director refuses to do the scene for his movies. But somewhere Jean felt that all this is too early. Still, after forcing the director and producer so much, he signs the contract without reading it. After some time, The producer gives a bag full of money to the director and Mr. Hung comes out from behind the curtain. Seeing Hung, Jean understands that all this is Hung's plan and she tries to break the contract as quickly as possible. But Hung snatches the contract from him beforehand and explains to Jean that he should trust his dad a little. This is where we come to know that Hong is none other than Hong. Jin's father is a very rich and powerful man, so he got Jean the role with the help of his position and money. Jean is not happy with his cunningness and leaves Jean there. Hong also follows Jean to explain to him that all this is being done for Jin's good. Here we see Jeong, who is watching how Wang Ling is looking down upon Jody because Jody also had a dream of becoming a popular actress. Jean also comes there and starts taking him there by holding Jaeang's hand. This entire incident is seen by Han, who thinks that Jean is dating Jeong. So he attacks Jeong, which Jeong easily stops, but Hong warns Jeong to stay away from his daughter. Jean explains to her dad that there is nothing like that between them, but when her dad doesn't agree, she punches him and leaves. Now it is night and Jeong is going towards home, and now he is also thinking about those weapons when he hears a girl screaming. We are shown that some people stop Jody and are asking for money from her which her mother had borrowed, and now her mother has run away with the money. Jody tries to convince them that she does not have money right now, but they do not listen and start harassing Jody. This is where Jeong enters, who looks like a Bollywood hero, and after taking good care of all the goons, he drives them away. Here Jody was very broken, so she runs away from there without saying anything to Jayan. While running away, she starts remembering her life, career, family, everything, due to which her heart becomes heavy and she sits on the side of the road and starts crying loudly. But seeing her condition, there are no people to calm her down. There was no one there. Then a rich-looking man comes who gives everything to Jody and takes her to a restaurant and feeds her good food and offers her wine. Jody also feels good that a stranger is doing so much for her, but she was unaware that the man also wants to take advantage of her. The man put something in Jody's wine and made her unconscious and took her to his room and was trying to do something wrong with her. At the right time, Jody came to know about the real intentions of that man, and in anger, she killed that man. Now another problem had come in Jody's life. To escape from this, she tries to commit suicide by jumping down from the window of the hotel, but here an unseen thing happens. Instead of falling down, Jody hangs in the sky and a ghost appears in front of her. Jody screams loudly after seeing him. At first, the spirit talks to her. Before Jody screams loudly after seeing him, the spirit tells her that she will not harm Jody in any way. On the contrary, she will give Jody a new life so that Jody can spend the rest of her life comfortably. Before Jody understands anything, that spirit tells her name as the producer, and in no time the unconscious Jody's eyes open in the luxurious bedroom where she looks in the mirror and her eyes widen, as she is now in Tang Ling's body. The scene shifts to the church where a man brings two people with him to meet his boss. The name of this man was Bai Jufu, and one of the two people who came with him was the treasure hunter. The other man with him was named Wolf. Bai Jufu had brought both of them to meet his boss. Both of them tell their boss about Zane. Their boss tells the hunter that both of them are number 1 donkeys who have decided to work on their own. After talking for a while, the boss explains to both of them that if both of them work for him, he will give them a good amount of money in exchange for Zane. After this, both of them leave from there. Bai Jufan asks his boss why he is so interested in Zane, to which the boss smiles a little and the boss says bye. He tells Jufu that he got news that producer the spirit is in this town today. Hearing this, Jean gets very angry. The scene shifts and Jean and Jeong are talking about the shooting. Then Mr. Hung tries to kick Jean from behind, which Jae easily dodges, but Jean gets very angry with this and she leaves from there in anger. Hong also does not listen to Jean and follows her. Jean is left alone there. Then Ling comes there, who is actually Jody. We see a scene of last night where Jody is very confused, that how she came in this body. Then some of her assistants tell her about her plan for tomorrow. Here Jody also understands that this is not the same life about which the producer was talking. So now she has to live her life and fulfill her dreams. While they were talking, a Ferrari arrives from which a very handsome boy named Ma comes out, who is a famous film star and also Wang Ling's boyfriend. Ma comes to Wang as soon as he sees Wang. Ma comes to Wang on seeing Wang and tries to kiss her, but Wang hides it from Ma and stands behind Zhang. Seeing this, Ma gets very jealous, and so first he makes fun of Zhang's looks. As soon as he comes to know that he is a friend of Wang, Ma shows off by giving a check of 5 lakhs to Zhang. But Mr. Hung takes his check because Ma's father had taken a loan from Hong a few years ago, and he was not able to repay it, so this money would be for his interest. Ma does not like this attitude of Mr. Hung at all, so both of them start showing off their expensive things in front of each other. At last Ma tells him that the location is perfect for a natural scenery. It's perfect. After a while, Jean was remembering her dialogues where she had to speak a historical dialogue this time in which Zhang was also present to help her. Then the same boy comes there who was shown to us first, and he took Jean to show the armor and helmet. Here he asks Jean who Zhang is, on which Zhang tells him the whole story, but the boy was still not able to believe her words. Here the boy asks Zhang the name of his clan to confirm it, by which he also gets confirmed that Zhang is speaking the truth. Zhang asks him that his brother's name is also nowhere in history. There must be some, on which it comes out that there is no name or trace of any person named Moat Y in history. Also, the king of that time had given the order to kill all the people of Mo clan, so currently that clan was completely finished. After hearing this, the ground slips from under Zhang's feet. He does not understand why the king gave such an order and on whose behest, because he had promised Zhang that he would not harm the people of the city. The scene shifts to the past where we see Moat Y with the same man who was looking for him in the first place. Here we are shown that with the help of Moat Y, the man defeated his enemy king who had ordered to destroy the Mo clan. Moat Y tells that he does not support fighting, but the king has been punished for the sins he has committed. But the other man tells that this is not enough, and they also want the legendary treasure which was hidden by some magicians years ago. To find that treasure, the man along with his soldiers opens the same caves, but before finding the treasure, he comes across some zombies who start killing all those soldiers one by one. The man kills all those zombies. To kill him, he burns him alive along with his soldier. He thinks that now all the treasure will be his, but this was also his mistake. A light comes out from inside. Seeing this, the man also understands that his dream of getting the treasure is very difficult to be fulfilled. That bright light comes out of the cave and goes into the sky. Seeing this, the man named Jeong Yu shoots his magic arrow from the sky with the help of his bow and orders the rest of his army to leave from there as soon as possible. The scene comes back to the present where the boy tells Jeong that no one can change what has happened, but if Jeong wants, he can definitely help him understand the past. But the boy shows Jeong some photos found in the cave. Seeing one of the photos, his eyes are wide open, but he does not say anything. Hearing the news of the death of his entire family, Jeong gets very angry and performs his stances. The director feels that he will spoil the entire shooting. He comes aside to rest where Wang brings water for him and sits next to him to talk. Jean sees all this and gets a little jealous, but it was already time for his shooting, so he doesn't do anything. On the other hand, his mother was watching them quietly, but Mr. Han thinks that he is trying to seduce Jean, so he beats him up. Then he gets a call from a man. Kong was very serious while picking up the call. That man calls Hung to meet him. Hung goes to the man's office to meet him immediately, but from his facial expressions it seems as if he is very angry with that man. We see that the yellow-haired man is in a mood to joke on seeing Mr. Hung, but Hung asks him to tell him only about something important. That man's name is Zoom, who runs a detective agency, and he is also very fond of making things from paper, which Hong does not like at all. Actually, Hung gave him information about Hunter. Jung had asked to get the weapon removed with which he had attacked his daughter. After some time of joking and laughing, Jung gives all the information to them. Jung was interfering too much in Mr. Hung's personal life, so Mr. Hung gets a little angry at first, but he vents his anger on the table in front of him and leaves from there. On the other hand, Mother is calming down her anger by shooting an arrow at a poster of Mr. Hung in her office. Mother's manager tells her that Hong is not just a rich man or a real man. In his youth, he used to be a gangster who won big fights with just his hands, but even now many people consider him no less than a monster. Hearing this, Mother's anger flares up even more, and she decides that she will finish him off tonight itself. In the scene, we see Jean, who had come to the roof to meet Zhang. She was surprised because the atmosphere here was just like a village. Zhang had made that place suitable for living in a very short time. Jean sees that Zhang is not there yet, but inside his tent there are many history and agriculture books and also a personal diary. Initially, she was shy to read someone's personal diary, but later she reads it in excitement. In the beginning, there were many pages praising Zhang, but as she reads the book further, she understands that Zhang has been investigating in that cab for a long time. As he came here and looking at the book, it seems as if he is searching for something. After knowing the truth of this, Jean herself goes to that location. It is quite late and she is also feeling scared, but gathering courage, she moves forward slowly. She realizes that someone is following her, and her guess was absolutely correct because men are following her. He is her father and she is her father. Seeing them there, Jean understands what is going on there, but then she also sees her friend there who has come to meet her. Now Jean understands what is going on here, on which her dad explains to her that everyone is working to find Jean's elder brother Jean Fong, who went for treasure hunting 7 years ago but suddenly disappeared. Until date, Mr. Hung has not been able to find him using his connections. Jean's friend is involved in all this because he also went on this hunt along with Jean's brother, but he came back alive alone and Jean's brother disappeared somewhere. After listening to everything, Jean understands that Jean has a role in all this. Then we are shown Jean, who was looking at the mark on the rock very carefully as if he knows that mark for years. This is because he really knew that sign because the mark is his brother's mark. Every member of Jean's clan has a special sign. And this sign was of his brother and also the place from where Jin's brother disappeared. This was the right sign. Now Jean understands what is the connection between his brother's disappearance and Zhang, and now with the help of Zhang they are trying to find Jin's brother. On the other hand, Jean calls Wang Ling and asks him where he is, to which he replies that the shooting is not over yet and he is at the location. He hangs up the phone after telling him to stay there, and it was clear from his voice that his intentions are not good at all. Here again we see Jean, who is not happy at all that his dad and friend are using Zhang to find his bike, on which Mr. Hung explains to him that this problem is much bigger than he thought, so he should not interfere in this matter and should leave from here. Then Wolf enters here, who has got the order to kidnap Zhang and Jean. Seeing him, Mr. Hung tells Jean to run away from here as soon as possible. But Jean doesn't want to leave her dad alone, hearing which Hung smiles and says that nothing will happen to him because these small goons can't harm him. After hearing such a big insult, Wolfie doesn't keep calm and attacks Mr. Hung with his punch, but Hung dodges it and Will laughingly says that he has heard from his senior that Hung is a strong warrior who has defeated his enemies with his own men. In the last few days, he had defeated all the enemies without using any weapon. Hearing this, Hung also gets into his serious mode and teaches the wolf a good lesson by using his red scarf as a weapon. After seeing her dad in this form for the first time, Jean is still confirmed that her dad is absolutely serious, so now she is worried about Zhang and she runs to find him. On the other hand, Zhang finds a stone around which there are symbols of that clan, seeing which he understands that this is the place from where anyone can go forward and backward in time. He was searching the place with it when Zhang comes there. He introduces himself to Zhang, but Zhang asks him who he is and what he was doing. Zhang tells him that he is a visitor who has come here only for a stroll. Saying this, he leaves from there because Zhang does not want to trouble Zhang. In one scene, we see the hunter here who is searching for Zhang. In the next scene, we are shown Mr. Ma, who Wang Ling is searching for Jiong and Wang Ling, and when he does not find them, he starts vandalizing the shooting location. Wang Ling arrives there, but her mother does not behave well with her, for which Wang slaps her, and in anger, he starts vandalizing even more. We see Jiong again, who understood those symbols, and as soon as he uses his fire powers, a hologram gets activated in front of him and a big gate appears in front of him. On one side was Jean, who was searching for Jiong everywhere, and his friend was also following him. Then Hunter attacks him from behind. Jean handles him, but Hunter says that this time Jiong is also not with Jean, so this time he will definitely take his revenge. Hunter was about to get his rats to attack Jean when Jung comes there and sets fire to Hunter's hand with his paper magic. Here, Hunter was completely furious because whenever Jiong is about to kidnap, someone or the other comes and saves his life. Even now, Jiong is on the run. Jean tells the hunter to go away from here because he can handle this hunter alone. Jean should come and find Jean and tell him everything about this. Jean starts running away from there. The hunter leaves the mice behind him, but Jung makes a cat with his paper magic, and that reminds the mice of their grandmother. On the other side, Zhang sees an empty space above the door which was exactly as big as the locket around his neck. Zhang understands that his brother is the one who will make this door for sure, who knew that one day Zhang will definitely find that door. That's why he gave him that locket. Zhang fits that locket in that place. Just then a bright light comes there. Due to the impact of that bright light, all the people who were a part of this story till now suddenly get teleported, although even they don't know where they are going because the light takes them to the place where they should have been. In the next scene, we see a scene from the past which is of Lu Kingdom. This scene is about an incident that has happened in the past, but people from the present will also be involved in it, and what their role will be shown to us later. Moving forward in the story, we see King Lu, who has an old man named Jian Qing come to meet him. King Louis becomes very happy on seeing him and welcomes him with full respect and honor. The purpose of bringing Jing Chan here was only that he calls King Lu's King Jiang to make a peace agreement with him. King Lu becomes very happy because his friendship with a king like Jiang Lu is a big deal. That's why Jiang also finds himself there, but he himself did not know how he came there. After understanding the surrounding situation, Jiang understands everything. He remembers that he had read about this incident in books, and here King Lu receives an offer from King Jiao in response. So in reality, it was not a peace agreement. Rather, King Yung had tried to kill King Lu, but King Lu had escaped from his attack. Here Jiang also understands that he is currently playing the role of King Lu's personal assistant, and similarly everyone else is also stuck in someone's rule. On the other hand, we are shown King Zhang, who is planning to kill King Liu with one of his ministers, and they decide that tomorrow there will be a show of sweat dance in which they will kill King Lu. The next day King Lu goes to his house with his entire army where Zhang had called him. Zhang also has to go with him. On seeing King Yung, Zhang remembers that he has met him before, but King Zhang does not remember anything like that. King Li and King Yung first discuss all their important topics, so they send Zhang out so that they can talk comfortably in private. Then we are shown Jin. Jin is the one who has been given the role of Zhang's army commander. Jin sees Zhang and runs towards him. Zhang is also very happy to see Jin, but when Jin asks him where and why they all had gone suddenly, Zhang does not have an answer to this question. But he only knew that they should not change history and whatever is happening should be allowed to happen. Then Naki is called inside for some work where we see two people doing sword battle. One of whom was Mr. Hung. Jin was very happy to see her dad, but when Hung overreacts, she punches him. Seeing Jin offers him to have a drink with her, and the man who drinks turns out to be no one else. Rather, it was a war. Then King Jiang gives a signal and an army comes there which kills King Lu. As soon as King Li dies, a bright light appears there again which takes them back to the place where the incident started. But this time the characters of the people had changed again. This time Zhang himself is Jian Chan, who had come to bring a peace agreement. Seeing King Li, he says that Wang Lin herself was Wang Zhang. Wang Zhang is very happy to see him, but both of them did not want to change anything in the past again. So they do not talk much. Till then we see the rest of the people. Hunter and Wolf have become part of King Lu's army, but Hunter does not understand at all how and why he has come here, and in anger starts arguing with his senior. Wolf tells him to calm down. Then Hunter's seniors suddenly teach him a lesson for his misbehavior. On the other hand, King Zhang is going to perform a short dance by Mr. Hung here, but the role of King's assistant is to be played by King Jiang, King Lu. They refuse to kill him, to which Jiang angrily says that King Lu must be killed. The next day everything starts as before, only everyone's characters had changed. Jin and Zhang were sitting face to face and King Lu was with Zhang. Jin tried to explain to Zhang through gestures that they should run away from here, but Zhang did not understand his words at all. Then the shot dance started which happened between Mr. Hung and the hunter. Zhang finally understands everything and tries his best to protect King Lu. But in the end King Jiang somehow kills King Lu in this too, and this whole sequence starts once again. In the second scene, we are shown the scene of the future where Jin's friends were investigating about where all those people suddenly disappeared from in front of his eyes. Even after doing a lot of investigations, when he does not find anything, he gets very upset. Then the boss of the Hunter Guild comes behind him and seeing them, the boy gets a little scared at first, but that man says that he is here only to help. He just looks at all the research papers and photos properly, and after seeing them he understands that all these people are trapped in an infinite loop. Giving some more details, the boss tells that maybe Zhang has accidentally started such a time loop which was made to imprison someone, and now because they have started that loop, all of them cannot come out of it until they follow their respective roles properly. If they try to change anything in history, then this loop will start again and will continue until they match their roles in history, and this thing of the boss is absolutely true because inside the loop, the roles of all of them keep changing with each other again and again. They were playing the loop, and every time with King Lu's death, the loop starts from the beginning, and the boss tells them that if they want to come out of this loop, then everyone has to work together or else they will never be able to come out. The story goes back to the past where this time we see Zhang as King's personal assistant and Jan as Zhang Chan. Jan is happy and angry to see Zhang again, and both of them are playing this role for the 10th time, and every time after King Lu's death, the loop restarts. Both of them go to meet King Lu according to their respective roles, but here a small twist comes in the story when they come to know that this time the role of King Lu will be performed by Mr. Hung, seeing her dad in the role of King Lu. Jean gets angry at him, but here Mr. Hawk tells that all this is not his mistake but Zhang's, due to which they are trapped here. Zhang gives his explanation and tells that he had only put the locket in which his brother was imprisoned in the keyhole, after which all this started. Both father and daughter Zhang Ka looks at the locket carefully, and Hung tells that if they have come here with the help of this, then there must be a way to come out. This time they all plan that they will have to save King Lu from getting killed in this way, also because only then he can return to his world. Here we are shown King Lu and his commander who had become Wang. The next day everything was going on as it happens every time, but it happens before that Zhang thinks of trapping everyone at his place where King Lu dies again and again. Then Yung, who has to become the cook this time, also comes there and tells that if they have to protect the king, then just any way will not work. They will have to find a way together. Now it was time for King Zhang to come, and everything was going perfectly till now. This time the two people who were selected for the shot dance were Zhang and Wolf. While dancing, as soon as Zhang and Yung get the right chance, they attack King Zhang from both sides, but King Zhang stops their attack from both sides. Looking at him, it seemed as if he already knew what was going to happen next. At one signal from Zhang, the entire army comes inside, but this time Hunter, giving his support, stops the entire army for some time, and at that time Hung was also protecting himself because if something happened to him, then this loop would start again. Zhang's fight was going on with Jiang, and at the same time he was also looking for someone through whom he could send King Lu out safely. Here, Kai Jin enters, sitting on a horse, who makes Hung sit with her and starts running away from there. Seeing their king's life in danger, the people of King Lu's army also protect him with all their might, and everyone along with Jing were trying to do as much as possible. He could stop King Yung from killing King Lu, but here we are talking about King Yung. As soon as he realizes that King Lu is about to go out of his control, he calls for his bow and aims at Liu. Zhang was watching all this in front of his eyes, which shows that he will not get such a chance to break the loop again. So, as soon as Zhang's arrow was about to hit the king, Zhang comes in between and goes through the arrows, but due to the reduced speed, it stops and King Lu comfortably goes out of his reach. As soon as this happens, all the people who were stuck in such a loop start disappearing again, but before that Zhang goes to another timeline. He sees this timeline like a movie where he was watching the scene of that time that King Yung has chosen Mr. Emotayu as his new minister. Zhang does not understand anything. Why did his brother betray his king and support Yung? Because he looks a little further, Yung knows. It is revealed that in the past when he was made into a statue, the king still did not fulfill his promise and also burnt all the people and village of Zhang. So somehow, Emotai and Jane escaped from there, but Emotai's anger for the king had increased so much that to pacify him, he had given Yung support in return, for which he only wanted that after Zhang becomes the king, he should bring peace in the entire kingdom, which Zhang had also promised. But after making Zhang the king, Motu AI slowly understands that giving Zhang's support was the biggest mistake of her life, because in search of his treasure, he had caused more destruction than the old king. One day, Zhang comes to meet Motu AI at her house. Seeing him suddenly, Matai understands the purpose of his visit. Zhang knew that Matai is not only a good magician but also a good crafter. He is an armorer for many powerful kings. Zhang had also come to give the order that he should make such a strong armor for him as well. But Matai knew that if he gave such an armorer to Zhang, then he would become a threat to all humanity. Still, he could not refuse the order of the king. He makes him an armorer helmet, and this is the same armorer who saw the future. After watching this much scene, Zhang once again goes into another time loop in which he was once again in a battlefield, and this battlefield was between Li and King Yung. On the other hand, we also see Mr. Hung, who has come back to the present after getting free from this time loop. Here, Zhang, standing in the battlefield, does not understand where he has suddenly come. Then another army officer explains to him that he is running away to save his life in a battlefield. Zhang still does not understand anything, yet he starts running. In the time loop, we see King Lu, according to whom he has fought with King Yung's army for the third time, and he asks for some advice from his commander. The people who were involved were his commander, Jin Yung Wang, and his two personal bodyguards, Hunter and Wolf. Now here, first of all, there is a lot of debate and fight between those five because no one understands anything and where are they stuck again. Here our wise Yung calms them down and tells them that according to his knowledge, this is the time when King Liu ran away to save his life and King Zhang kept attacking him, but if we look at the history then in the end King Liu won the war. Now here Ji tells that he had completed his roles properly last time and maybe that is why Mist Hung is not with him and he has returned to reality. Now Ji tells that this means that they will also have to match the history and their actions again, and if someone wants to break this loop, they should make a strategy to win the battle, keeping in mind that their army will attack King Zhang's army from all directions simultaneously, for which he is short of some people. King Lu tells that they have an army leader named War Immortal who has a big army but is very stubborn and it will be very difficult to convince him. In the next scene we see Jaina and Wang who come to War Immortal to ask for help from the leader. After a while she comes to War Immortal's palace and wishes him, but his face is not clear. Wang Ling gets very scared seeing this and seeing her in such a state. When Jean also looks at her face, she screams. Here we see the leader who was none other than the mother. Both of them scream very loudly and ask the mother how did he come here, to which the mother replies that like everyone else has come here, he also comes there in the same way. Along with this, Ma kidnaps Nad Wang by talking to his soldiers. On the other hand, we see Zhang who has reached here after running away from that battlefield. There are some other people with him who consider him to be a new member and tell him the whole story, and also that now they have to directly fight on the side of War Immortal for the second fight. In War Immortal's palace, Ma has imprisoned Jean, who tells him that he has decided to fight on the side of Jin Zhang and not King Lucky. Jean gets very shocked to hear this because if this happens, they will change history again and they will never be able to get out of this loop. But Meijin takes a new child and his big army and sets out to shake hands with King Zhang. He also builds a very big pillar for his own security so that the enemy cannot be touched by arrows. Jean was still repeatedly refusing him that by doing this he is changing history, but Ma has only one problem. He was crazy about becoming the king. After some time, he sees Jing Zhang's army. Ma thinks that King Zhang has accepted her demands, but the opposite happens. When King Zhang's army makes a surprise attack on Ma's army, they start killing everyone one by one. Zhang himself was fighting from the mortal side. He notices Jean. Ma also does not accept defeat and orders her army to attack. Both the armies fight each other with great force, but the surprise for everyone was when Zhang himself suddenly comes to the battlefield. He comes there at the speed of lightning. He shatters the big pillar made by Ma with just one of his attacks and kidnaps Jean and runs away from there. All this was happening in front of Zhang's eyes, but everything happened so quickly that Zhang did not even get a chance to do anything. Zhang now makes a plan to save Jean and tells him that now they will have to do exactly the same as in history. At first, the mother refuses to help them, but later, when Zhang threatens to kill him, he agrees to help them out of fear. Mr. Hung is seen in front of Hunter Leek's boss, who asks him if he has to bring his daughter back to reality. The boss says that all this was started by Zhang, and if we think carefully, it is only Mr. Hung's mistake that if he had not insisted on finding his son, all this would not have happened. But keeping all things aside, the boss shows him the same armor and tells him that there is still some magic left in this helmet, which is connected to the mindset of its owner. This means that if a person with a strong mind wears this helmet, then he can control the mind of its owner. When he is telling all this, we are shown a scene of the battlefield where King Luck is fighting with Jung from the side of the chest. Wang Mo Hunter and Wolf were fighting, and on the other side we are shown Jung, who tells Jean that they are meeting for the second time. Jean doesn't understand when they met for the first time, but this is where a big twist comes in the story. The fact is that they met for the first time in the future, or when Jean saw that helmet for the first time, he felt that someone is watching him, which was true. Jean has always watched him because his mind is still connected to that helmet. On the other side, Zhang and Jung are talking that they have to win this battle by any means, so they have made a plan. In the present, Mr. Hung wishes that he will wear that helmet himself to save his daughter. Then Bai comes there and calms him down and tells him that Mr. Hung's body will not be able to bear such intense pressure. So he will wear this helmet himself, in return for which the boss wants Zhang, who is also alive. Hong agrees to the deal. Bai wears that helmet, but a strange blue light comes out around him. In the past, the commander of the army asks some people of his army to sing a song. When all of them started singing, Jung's army attacked them. Now at this point, they were trapped in Zhang's trick. Actually, Zhang had sent a small army ahead, which would sing a song and divert the attention of Zhang's army, and in the meantime, the rest of the army would come from behind and attack his army. This plan of his is successful to a great extent because most of Zhang's army could not withstand this surprise attack. But Zhang was different. He was riding his horse and coming in front of him one by one. He was killing all the soldiers and moving forward, making his way. Seeing his such action, the army sends as many people as possible towards him. But Zhang was moving forward as if he would kill everyone today. To stop Zhang, Hunter and Wolf together try to stop him. Hunter uses his powers to stop him for some time, but Jung defeats him as well and starts moving forward. After seeing all this, Jung starts moving forward. Jung realizes it's time for his plan B, which requires Zhang to step in and fight directly. We see Fong trying his best to stop Zhang, for which he transforms into his human fox form. But Zhang was not in the mood to run today, so he defeats him too, and just as he is about to kill him, Zhang enters there. Seeing Zhang, Jean tells him to be careful of Zhang because just like those people who are alive, he is also stuck in a loop. Zhang gets very angry on seeing Zhang because he is still stuck in a loop because of his brother. Zhang also fights him with all his might, but then Zhang uses his sword and splits Zhang's body into two parts. Everyone thinks that now Zhang is doomed, but we see that he was a paper clone which Zhang had made using his powers, and as Zhang is blessed, real Zhang comes there and saves Zhang. While saving Zhang, Kuma also sends his remaining army to attack Zhang. Zhang has been very upset with all these incidents, so he uses his final attack Black Hole, and within no time everything starts getting destroyed. This thing will be a thorn in the future. Bai also gets hit, whose mind was still connected to Jin. By using that arrow in the past, Jin ends that time loop and now everyone reaches another time. Now Zhang asks Jin why are we following them in the timeline. Here Jin reveals that actually this time loop is a prison from which it is impossible to get out, and this prison was made by Matai to control Zhang. Hearing this, Zhang does not understand anything. Jen tells him correctly that Death Eye had made an armor helmet for Jan which had so much power that it can make any common man 100 times more powerful than his power, but along with this Matai had given that the person wearing the armor will keep wandering from one timeline to another for his entire life. So Jen is stuck here for the last several thousand years, and the one who did all this is Death Eye. Now everything becomes clear to Zhang, and Zhang also tells that there is only one who is in the embrace of Zhang's locket, and if he gives this locket to Zhang, he will let Zhang go. Hearing all this, Jean tries to explain to him that even if he goes to the outside world, he will not be able to do anything because the world has become very advanced now, on which Zhang starts laughing loudly and tells that the locket is not just a key but a device with the help of which the old time can be brought back like and subside for more.